Hi, welcome back. Well, I've got a bit of a packed video for you today. I promised you a rally build. I've got two rally builds. I also want to talk about some other little things you can do with the car without necessarily doing the full build. So this is hot on the heels, of course, of building a standard RS500 road car in two colours, and for building, of course, the Labatts touring car that I really wanted. So it's a busy video. We need to get on with it. The car you see here is the RS500 that was in Moonstone Grey, but it's now painted in white. Partly because I never showed you one in white, so there's one in white. But also this is what people call crew white or pure white. And I've put that on because I want us to play with liveries and see some of the things you can do before we even talk about or build the first car. When you go on then to the first race livery, Retro Rally, this did have a massive white stripe here. But of course the massive white stripe disappears on a pure white car when you're left with a white car just with a race number and some sponsor stickers. There's quite a few cars like that around for both race and rally. I'm just picturing one example here. So if you want to build one like that, this is a very clean and simple option for you. It does affect other liveries. The Atomic Racing one here loses the white stripe, giving you a cleaner and simpler livery. As you see, Team Zero works very well. We've seen this on BMWs and things. This livery is always better if you can work on a pure white. Obviously, it totally ruins the one that we're using for the Labatts car. Works very nicely with this livery here, which we're going to come back to. And it works well here. Obviously, ice white would work for this one or the previous one as well. And we're going to come back and use this livery later. So let's get on now and do our build. And we're going to build a D500 XRN. That is the license or number plate of this car. And the car has been built to be a replica for the 1989 car that was campaigned by Colin McRae and Derek Ringer. There's a photo here of it in the Lombard Rally. And a huge amount of work has gone into this replica, including how all of the interior goes and stuff. And of course, it's one we have such a good livery for. And to me, this is probably the best rally car you can build on here that I found after a lot of searching, just because we can get so close. So I'm going to start then with the livery. It's this livery, of course. And what I really like is so many rally and race cars paint round the wheel arches like this. We don't have a primary and secondary option in the game that will allow us to do that. And therefore a livery that does it for us, that is bang on. So the Chappelle Rally Team livery, otherwise up to the top, with the bumpers, of course, no respecting rally cars going around with splitters to be ripped off. And so the stock front bumper works best, as does the stock rear bumper for just about every build I've done, in fact, has been that. Now for the exhaust, I've got a picture here. The exhaust is a side exhaust and it's flat. It is on the other side of the car to here. I think we probably have to go with hot ring, although I hate the stupid blue ends on them. I know what they're sort of referring to, but I never thought it works. Your other option, of course, is just to say, well, I'll have the race exhaust then. But of course, this sort of flatter hot ring one is less likely to be beaten up. So hot ring exhaust, headlight covers, there are none. So for the hood, in the RS500 video, I said I think this is the best hood for the car, and I'm well aware that these vents should be here. I received a comment saying I prefer the aggressive vented hood because it puts the vents in the right place, and I thought that was a very valid comment indeed. This is where the vents are on the real car. The reason I don't use them is I really associate the vents on the Cosworth with being a hole in the bonnet with a stuck-on, presumably plastic piece for the vent, not slats cut into the bonnet. And so for me, these just look wrong, even though they're in the right place. But they are a viable option depending on your thoughts. But for me, vented hood. Staying with the orangey lights, the livery we've already done. The mirrors, we just want the stock mirrors. Mud guards, we want plastic mud flaps here in order to put on just black plastic. For the number plate, I'm keeping yellow on black because this is the reverse on here of a British plate, which would be black on yellow. Of course, it does be a bit too black on the front. So we already talked about the primary colour being the crew colour. And I checked an internal picture of the car. It does have a white roll cage. So let's make the secondary also crew for that. Roll cage, I couldn't see padding on the one that we're doing, so it's a race roll cage. Roof accessories are none. The spoiler, this car was based on a normal Cosworth, not an RS500, so you move back to LozSpeed spoiler to lose the lip spoiler part of it. Sun strips. We have a choice here. None of them are quite right, but I think this primary one works the best. For suspension, the car's used, I think, mainly on tarmac. I've seen pictures of it on rough surfaces and therefore different suspension heights. So it really just depends which one you're building. So it gives you a few excuses, doesn't it? So if you want to drop it down a little bit for something like this for a tarmac one, then why not? Now for the wheels, I have not been able to match the wheels in the photographs here. So I prayed that the car had also been used on another wheel, and I found this photo, which was a great relief. So into the track category, gravel trap wheel, and then painted, of course, in frost white, wishing you could have ice white. And that gets fairly close to that wheel. Of course, the tyre's a bit too low a profile, but I think it's a better match than trying to use some of the deeply dished sort of Wangan Master and those sort of wheels to match the real car. Anyway, there we go. I think this looks rather nice. We're going to take it outside for a better look. Okay, I had to start a mission to get the daylight, but this is the car outside. And I think this car looks really good like this. And I'll tell you now, if I was going to keep a second race version of the car, and who knows, with GTA Plus coming and expanded garages, maybe I'll be able to do that. This would be the rally car I keep, and this would be the video I'll go back to see how to build it. So this is my number one rally car, D500 XRN. I commend this one to you. It's definitely my favourite of the two we're going to build, and that really comes down to the accuracy of the livery. But I think now probably time to move on and build another one. For our second build, I found a Marlboro liveried car, and it was campaigned back in the 90s by Marian Bublewicz, a Polish rally driver who was extremely successful. And since then, that car, a later car, and a whole team with period livery on the vans, the people, everything has been made to honour this car. And there's a wonderful article I read about it that's linked below. I've really enjoyed it. So we're going to do our best now to build that car. There's not many changes. Starting on the front bumpers, the car has lost these driving lights. We can't literally just lose them, but there is this additional intake, which is the very same bumper, but these do look a lot more blacked out. So I'm going to pick the additional intake for this car. Rear bumpers, as far as I can see, stock is still going to work the best. For the exhaust, I couldn't see the exhaust on the car, not on the left, right, or the back. So it must be one of these just sort of under the bodywork. So I'm just thinking of going, well, possibly just stock exhaust to hide it away a little bit. You could also have the stock race exhaust on the side. The headlight covers, this one here works really well. Half headlight covers. Vented hood still works best for the hood. Again, stay with your period lights. If I just go back to the hood a minute, for rally cars, of course, we would sometimes have lights on. And just so you know, I have seen a few rally cars with this pod on. It gives you the hood pins as well, and it gives you the vents. So I think Rally Package is a fantastic, fantastic hood. And you're probably all aware that when cars were not doing night rallies, these were taken off, which is why you'll see pictures of the same car with and without light pods on. So I think it's a very viable alternative. Now, I don't know if this copy one is rallied at night or not, but should we just put that on just so we can actually see the difference on the final car? We'll stay with the period lights. The livery, we're now going to use the Redwood Racing livery. We really, of course, want a big white cutout at the front, but we can't have it. It is not perfect, but I think it's the nearest we're going to get anyway to the Marlborough livery. Before I leave the livery, notice that the mirror goes black on that livery. So when we go to mirrors, I want a white one, but I don't really want a black mirror. It doesn't work. So let's just go secondary mirrors to at least colour the mirror. For the mud guards, they've actually given us red mud flaps, so we don't have to play around with primaries and secondaries. For the plate, well, what plate is going to be the least noticeable on this car? I guess E-Cola. So for the respray, we've already done the primary as the pure white. The secondary, the roll cage, I've also painted in pure white, and that is correct for the car. And the trim colour isn't really doing anything, as you can see. Roll cage, again, the race roll cage. Roof accessories, well, you know, there is something on the front here. And of course, not mentioned before, but rally cars didn't have sunroofs. All of the Cosworth RS 500s, and I think maybe all Cosworths had sunroofs. So that's just something we can't do anything about, and we can't put the piece on here either. So let's not look at the roof too much. Spoiler, again, the LozSpeed spoiler. For the sun strip, I'm going to stay with the primary one. The colour should be white at this stage, but we'll have to have it as red. Suspension. The car looks about stock in the pictures I can see. Now for the wheels, we do have a problem. I escaped it on the previous car by finding a picture of it on these sort of turbofan wheels. I could find no other pictures of this car other than the wheel that you see, and we can't really match it. And the nearest I could get is to go into the tuner wheels, the stock ones, and the stance EG. Reasons for picking it: right sort of size of spokes, but not enough of them. There's no nuts. I don't have a massive dish, because no Cosworth really had a massive dish because of just where the suspension and everything lies. So I'm not that happy with that wheel, I'll be totally honest with you, but I went through them all. There are some in the off-road category that much closer match the style, but they're ditty tiny little wheels with big knobbly tyres, and we're mainly making cars for tarmac type rallies here. They just look really stupid. Say below if there's a wheel you prefer, because I love having this in the comments, because it means anybody reading the comments just has a bit of an easier choice than having to go through all the wheels themselves. Anyway, so there we are. So this is the second option. So Marian, Bublewicz's Sierra Cosworth with here added nighttime driving lights that I don't know if go on it or not, but I wanted to show you the options. And I do think this is a striking rally car as well. So there we are. We've got two rally cars. I do prefer the first one because it gets that much closer, but it is nice to have a choice. Now, I haven't found any more touring cars particularly to build, but I have found one thing here that I would just like to show you, this photo. Now, this is the continuation model of the car. A few engineers, including people who worked on Andy Rouse's race-winning Sierra back in the day, that was a Caliber liveried car. They made 3 of these continuation models. They're the exact same car in just about every respect as the Team Labatts car we built, just in white here. And the idea is that they could go and you can put your own livery on and race these continuation models. So that gives you a bit of an excuse to take my Labatts build and just put on it whatever livery you want, or no livery at all. Paint it whatever colour you want, really, and pretend you've got a continuation model. So, thank you so much for watching.